Tonight we got a couple of good questions for our buddy Tom from Coral Capital here, Thomas.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming out. Give us a little bit about yourself, Thomas.
Yeah, so I showed up in Puerto Rico kind of in late 2020. In my previous life, I was an investment banker. Once I fell down the crypto rabbit hole in 2015, 2016, just kind of meshed with my ethos, and I dug deeper and deeper down this hole, and it's just been an amazing journey. I've made so many friends, but just trying to educate myself. So just a little bit about myself. Moved down here late 2020. We started Coral Capital. Basically, we're a hedge fund and venture capital firm. So what that means is we invest in different projects, and we run various strategies in the markets to make money for our investors. So I'm the CIO. I'm one of three people who started the firm. All three of those principals are people you see around in San Juan. So the business has really started, and the heartbeat is in San Juan, and it's a beautiful thing to see that grow through the years. So my role is CIO right now, Chief Investment Officer. I've kind of grown this business from running everything myself, like on the laptop, doing all the trading, to recruiting new talent. And so right now my role kind of day to day is recruiting new talent, managing risk, looking for different opportunities in the market to make returns for our investors. And so,
well, you guys got to be doing something great here, because my brother speaks highly of you guys.
We survived this recent downturn. So your brother was an integral part of me moving down here. So I share the love for the whole Rivera family.
Awesome. He was a big part of mine too. And there's a third Rivera. A lot of people don't know that. Justin. My mother calls him a Rivera too. But so you see. So you came down. You fell in love with the island. You started this Coral Capital, and what's been right since then?
Yeah, I mean it's actually been a whirlwind. I mean. Coming into kind of 2020, I had spent a lot of time in the markets, and I was pretty sure that we were about to enter the bull stage of the market. And so, I came to Puerto Rico, and obviously, the tax advantages of being down here were very attractive. So, kind of took the leap of faith in coming down here. Starting our company, basically, it's like starting any company, like starting from scratch, like. You pick all the pieces together, you register the company, you have to set up salaries, health benefits, et cetera. But it's really been crazy. We've gone from, our initial money of the three founders that we put in to, we now manage over 9 figures, and we run 4 different funds. And I think coming into kind of the next bull market, I think you're going to see us as one of the tier 1 firms. And we have the people in place to do that. We have the infrastructure in place to do that. And I'm very proud to have done that, like I said, from Puerto Rico to put us on the map.
You guys got a lot of boots on the ground here, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Any team members you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, I mean, give a shout out to all of them. I mean, Patrick and David Namdar, I started the firm with. We've got our trading team, Josh, Justin, and JR, and then head of operations, Chase. So
you guys got a solid team.
We got a solid crew, tight knit. Like we work like special forces. So it's a great team. And like I said, we started from 3, and within a year, we're about to crack double digits in team members. So
congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
It's and what do you got coming down the pike for the rest of the year?
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, it's kind of the same thing, right? Like we're always looking for ways to generate returns for our investors. So whether that's investing in new projects on the venture capital side, or I like hiring developers, because I think they have a really good sense of finding unique opportunities in the space. So we've recently been very active in the kind of that side of the world in the liquid markets, as kind of prices have been falling, looking for other ways to set yourself up to kind of generate returns that don't require you to kind of buy a token and hope it goes up in price. So we kind of refer to those as like market neutral strategies. And so that's kind of been our core focus since we started the firm. So I think software developers are really especially well suited and can become really good traders for those reasons.
Being that we're talking about software and all this and that, what do you got? What's your take on what's going on right now with the the events that have taken places in the Voyager and the Celsius and things to that nature? What's your take on it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure we'll hop into so many different topics, but I mean, there's a couple of things going on. So one, you have kind of the macro backdrop of, the bubble has kind of popped, right?
The bubble has burst.
The S&P 500 is down 20% on the year. It's basically been up every year since, call it 2008. It's either 2008 or 2011. So you kind of have that bubble burst on the macro level. But more specifically, I think there's just like a lack of trust within crypto right now. People who took their hard-earned money and put it on a lot of these lending platforms that they would call it CeFi, so call it Celsius, Voyager. If you're not familiar, basically, those are platforms where you would take your crypto, they would go and lend it out like a bank would, and their whole goal was to capture the spread in terms of profits, but the risk management taking place there was not very good, and so a lot, in 3 or 4 different instances, Celsius, Voyager, BlockFi, a couple of others, each lost over $1 billion of customer funds. And so, if I'm a retail customer and I have my money there and that happens, I certainly, would lose faith in the system for a little while. And I think greed has kind of shown itself over the last 12 months. And so, I think, these things go in cycles. Retail will be back. I would say, like, for the people who were around in 2017, who were also here for 2020, 2021, we took a giant leap forward. But we need to take another giant leap forward, and we need to get serious about some of these things around security. And I think regulation is going to come, especially on the lending side.
Yeah, I mean, security is a big thing in crypto, especially. What would you say to someone just walking in the door, wanting to purchase some crypto? What would be a good way for them to go about it?
Yeah, I think that answer for the average retail user is like you go to Coinbase or you go to Robinhood, and I think that's a great place to start. But there's, I think if you're going to actively invest like a meaningful percentage of your net worth in something, you should really learn as much as you can about it. Ultimately, like, my goal here in terms of operational security and to inform people is like, get your money, like, if you have a sizable portion of your net worth tied up in crypto, just get it off the exchanges. Get it off exchanges, lending platforms, take it into custody in some way. And then, just the reason being, you're trusting these businesses with your money, right? And they're not insured. We've seen kind of every cycle, exchanges and pseudo banks have popped, right? So every cycle, people lose money, but they keep putting their money back in these places. So it takes work, it takes time. You need to educate yourself, but there are great products that are easy to use. Hardware wallets, Ledger, the Lattice one. So they're, like I said, if you're going to put a meaningful portion or percentage of your net worth into crypto, you have to get serious about security.
So do your research.
Exactly, do your research. And then, this scales up onto an institutional level as well. Like, we as a business have a totally separate, like, operational security blueprint, right? That we pay, thousands of dollars per month for. That's a whole nother level beyond just the hardware wallet. So there are different levels depending on how much money you're talking about. For the average person, I'd say step one is just get a Coinbase account. It's a very easy app to download, buy a little Bitcoin, buy a little Ether, and then just start educating yourself. And then from there, get it off the exchange. Learn to take custody of your own funds, because it's just been proven over and over again that when you are not in control of your own funds, like, there's a like reasonable chance it's
I
going to
think
go away.
I think we've seen.
Yeah, exactly.
what it could
Celsius,
happen.
Voyager, it's happened, and it happens, with Mt. Gox in 2015, and then same thing in 2017. Bunch of smaller exchanges.
So what do you think has caused all this the correction now in the market? Like what's caused?
Yeah, so I can point to probably two specific events. I think the Celsius blow up was pretty massive.
Pretty big.
And I think that was caused by two particular trades. One was a project called Terra Luna, which was essentially trying to imitate like a form of a US dollar, but not tied to actual dollars. There are actual digital dollars it's called USDC. You can swap it in and out of a bank for actual dollars. This project had a stable coin called UST, and when that lost its peg to $1, it was basically a free fall, and it was a rush for the exit. And when those events happen, those are like what we call black swan events, even though they are, it can be predictable. When those things happen, you kind of see who is over leveraged, and the fact remains that in our industry, leading up from 2019 till today, there was a lot of leverage. And what I mean by leverage is people borrowing against their holdings. So, like if I have $10,000, I want to get $100,000 of exposure. So you had people basically lending money to people like Three Arrows Capital with no collateral, things you would never see in the real banking world. Like, I would never say, "Hey, Isaac, like I just met you. We interacted for the first time today." You would never come to me and be like, "Give me $1 million." I'd be like, "Okay, well, like post something so that I know that I'm going to get my money back." And that activity was happening. So, a couple of firms in particular were able to basically fleece the entire industry. Three Arrows being one
Oh shit!
of them.
Nobody gave me $1 million.
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
I wouldn't mind either.
So now, what? How does it correct itself?
Yeah, I think it's just a natural state of like every financial market goes through cycles,
Takes
right?
a cost.
So it's you take that beating, everyone goes through the denial phase, it goes down more. What I think really kind of sparked this cycle, and it was a genuine interest from retail and institutions in gaining exposure to the asset class. So that's what we need again, right? And so, we can't really control the macro background, like I was talking about, like the interest rates or quantitative easing. Those things will certainly help if we get, more favorable conditions from that aspect. But we need products and we need platforms that people will use and like to use. And we talk about NFTs, gaming. Those are things people like. So I don't want to underestimate that particular segment. Play to earn gaming. I think there's something there long term. I think it's been It's as a category, it's a little ahead of itself in terms of like valuations. But I think you heard stories of people in the Philippines like earning a living playing Axie Infinity. Making kind of double, triple their salary. So. There are real things there. So I think that natural cycle needs to progress through, and then I think more specifically on the financial side, we're going to probably, unfortunately, see government regulation, and it wouldn't be the worst thing to see platforms that had insurance attached to deposits. So you go to your bank and you deposit dollars, they're insured by the government. So. Having similar platforms with that feature, I think, could go a long way.
Well, we'll definitely see here in the next few upcoming time. You got anything else you wanted to touch base on while you were up
No,
here?
yeah, I think it's like I said, it's an interesting time in the market.
Before we take any questions from the crowd.
Yeah, for sure. It's an interesting time in the markets. I think Ethereum heading into the merge, I think this could be like one of the paramount events that people are overlooking. And I think now is a really good time to get educated and to get involved if you have not been, because prices are very depressed from where they were. And, it's really my belief that the technology underlying the blockchain can basically, what it can do to the financial system is displace a level of middlemen. And what I mean by that is you can take out one layer of bankers, or you can take out one layer of whatever kind of certification, and those cost savings will be real at some point. And it'll probably be in things like the foreign exchange markets, any kind of market like that. So long term, very bullish, obviously. Short term, who knows?
All right. Any questions out there? I can't see nothing. So if you guys got your hands up, please. There we go.
Sorry, I wouldn't have asked this except that you just mentioned it. You said certain exchanges are insured by the government. Like I know that Kraken, for instance, is a bank in Wyoming. It has a banking license in Wyoming. So I would assume that they have like FDIC insurance or something like that. But what other exchanges are like have some sort of FDIC insurance or are insured, like you're saying, and which ones aren't that you know of? You don't have to name every one, but I mean like that you're aware of. Like, what did you mean when you were saying before about insured?
Yeah, that's a good question. I actually don't know the answer. You actually just taught me something. I didn't realize Kraken had the Wyoming banking license. So that's really cool. But I think, there's no reason that we won't see Coinbase and Robinhood potentially following the same footsteps. I think what we really need to be cognizant of, though, are the Celsius and the BlockFis of the world, who basically take your deposits and then lend them out naked to different investors. So, like Celsius, I think is the prime example of that, right? Like in their user agreement, basically it says when you make a deposit, Celsius controls your assets. So you're basically literally handing them all your money.
All your money.
It literally said that. It says it. I read the terms and conditions on Celsius, and it says if you make a deposit on here, Celsius is in control of your money. We'll pay you out whatever 5 or 6% per month, annual, but we own your money now. And people don't read that, right? So these are the things that are frustrating that you see over and over again. And I have friends who are very well educated and fluent in the space, and they got wiped out because they didn't read the terms and conditions on some of these platforms. So,
so with Celsius, for example, is it more like that is instead of you being a depositor and it's a bank, it's more like you are a bondholder, and they have this bond that it's kind of redeemable until they say that it's not, and now you have a bond with no balloon payment date, and they just shut down. How does all of that work?
Yeah. So the terminology for that would be you're basically an unsecured creditor to Celsius. So basically, they're taking your money and they're a hedge fund, but they keep all the profits, and they pay you out a proposed interest rate. But if they go insolvent, it's the losses are totally on you, which is ridiculous and doesn't happen that's what you call fraud.
So in other words, with unsecured, it's almost like you are a bank that has issued them a credit card, and they're doing cash advances on your credit card that you issued to them, and then they either default or they don't. But if they don't default, they pay you 5%. If they do default, then they default.
Yeah, you're screwed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Pretty much.
All right.
Anybody else?
I had a quick two-parter. I was just curious about what you meant earlier about neutral strategies of investing without buying specific coins.
Yeah.
If you want to go.
Yeah. So I'm not going to name specifically giving away our kind of alpha, but I would say kind of taking a snapshot of the last prior 12 months, using dollars as there were basically all of these new platforms that came out, and everyone was borrowing dollars against their Bitcoin and their Ether that went up in prices. So if I basically take that as collateral and supply dollars to people, I'm basically market neutral, right? I'm basically holding dollars. I'm over collateralized. I can liquidate their collateral in the event that the price goes down, but I'm earning a yield, and I'm basically staying, in line with the dollar, basically generating a yield, as opposed to, your typical hedge fund. Not typical hedge fund, but like typical crypto funds, which were like long only, basically buy and hold any laundry list of coins or tokens. We do have a fund that does do that with a longer time horizon, but by market neutral, I basically mean like we're not trying to take exposure to the underlying asset itself. We're just trying to generate yield off of it.
Next.
I had just
Yeah,
one.
yeah,
Part two. Yeah.
But I was just curious because you are building here in Puerto Rico. I wanted to see what you kind of thought would like how best way to grow the industry here and like growing businesses and the market here and education. And I think something is like interesting I've seen here is a lot of people talk about like importing companies, importing talent, importing money to the island, and I'm really interested in like growing that stuff here as opposed to importing it. So I just wanted to, as an actual business owner, what you thought about that.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I think what I saw when I first moved here, and granted, like I've only been here now, I guess 2 years. What I saw when I first came here was it was mostly like financiers on the crypto side, and I think what we really need is we need to bring more developers to the island. Like we need builders, we need people to fund projects for, and that's what we need for a thriving ecosystem. That's what you see in San Francisco. That's what you see in New York, and I think that will slowly happen. I think people have kind of caught on to the fact. We've had we have great crypto events. We have Crypto Mondays. Blockchain Week, I think, opened a lot of eyes to people back in November, December. But if you're starting a blockchain-related company, Puerto Rico is an amazing place to come. The tax advantages of basically being here, and then the access to capital, I think, are two huge advantages. Like I lived in New York, and I was an entrepreneur in a business, crypto business prior to this, and I went through the process of raising capital. And I wish I had the network that I have here at that point. I think it's much easier here. I think people are much more friendly and open. So I think we're setting ourselves up well for it. But I think to answer your question, we need more developers and builders.
I think the schools out here they're doing a good job at putting their best foot forward.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think getting guys like myself and there are so many talented people that are on this island that I think we're probably a top 5 crypto city in the world or in the U.S.
Oh, yeah.
In the U.S. at least, or if not in the world.
You could do it.
We need to get in front of those students, right? Because we don't have the natural advantage San Francisco does of having Stanford in our backyard, right? But so what do we have to do? We have to do what pitch in and help educate the people that are here, and I'm sure there are a ton of talented students.
Yeah, if you guys are interested in that aspect, reach out to Annie Mustafa. She works well with the colleges here, and they just wanting to educate the people of Puerto Rico.
Yeah, for sure.
Any other questions? Well, go ahead. Oh, one more last question. Anybody? No.
That's good job having 9 figures even after this downturn. That's pretty good. What kind of strategies did you all use to do that? Or in other words, did you kind of follow a 4-year cycle kind of plan of the top will probably be in November or December, or did you use some sort of hedging strategy? Or like I know you said what you're doing right now sounded kind of like put selling to me. In other words, you have when you're giving a loan and you're getting interest on it, daily interest on it, but also you can grab someone's assets if it goes too low. That's kind of like selling a put. Sounds like to me it's like you're grabbing the theta, but then you're also if it goes below the strike price, you're going to wind up with the asset. So it's almost like you're selling out of the money. When you have someone over collateralized, it's like you're selling an out of the money put, basically. But that might be what you're doing now. But like, what did you do near the top, and how did you call the top? Did you have some sort of other strategy, or how do you work like that?
Yeah, so I mean, I'll first of all, I'll give a shout out to like the guys on my team. Like they actually they were well on to where we were on the cycle, even actually better than I was. Look, we started the business in February of 2021, and so we were already like 14 months into the bull cycle. So I just had the idea that from the beginning that if I was going to start a business, I really couldn't put myself in a position if I wanted to build a fund that was around for multiple decades, that I really couldn't put myself in a position where I was like completely long at any point, because it was kind of just it's kind of just a ticking time bomb before you have a correction. So I mean, who knows what would have happened, right? Like it could have gone, we speculated on some projects, and then we have our venture capital arm as well, so we place multi-year bets out of that. So but I think we did do a really good job of identifying kind of the top signals, and then more specifically, like we just avoided blowups. Like we avoided the Lunas. Our money was never in Celsius or BlockFi. There were probably like 6 to 7 kind of blowups like last year alone, and we just sort of, I don't think it was random that we avoided those. I think it's that we're educated on the process, and we did our due diligence before getting involved in certain projects.
But I mean, even without getting involved with projects that are going to lose like 100% or some percentage of your money, like even just the assets themselves, like Bitcoin's down. I mean, most other ones are down more than that, but like Bitcoin's down like, I don't know, 70 or 75% now or something like that. So it's like even just holding like the tier one, like holding like the best asset or the most stable asset in the other than stable coins, that even that would have like lost 75% from the top. So how do you know to go partially to cash or to go short or whatever?
Yeah, I mean, we had been in cash kind of since like probably June or July of last year. Like when we really, as we were kind of building out the business and talking to investors, like it just became clear that the like kind of risk for, or like you can never call it risk free, because there's so many like risks involved in deploying money on chain. But the like dollar denominated return on US dollars was so historically great, like for the last 18 months, that it kind of made sense to me, like what we could put up and what we did put up, like on a relative basis, in just deploying dollars is like take the safe route. So,
numbers made sense.
Yeah. So it's like I said, it was partially like just right timing and being aware, and really learning from mistakes that I had made in previous cycles. Like in 2017, I went from like becoming like a millionaire overnight to like losing it all, just because like I believed too much in just bad risk management, and those are things I think you like build up over time. So yeah.
Nice. Thank you.
Awesome. We got one last question, and then we're back to networking.
All right, so my question is related. You mentioned that we need more developers, more builders. Did you mean business developers, business builders, or actually coders?
Yeah, I think coders really like more. We need more of everything for sure. We need people who have good business minds, but I think we need more coders. I think people who are fluent in Solidity, Rust is the kind of new like blockchain-related coding language as well. Specifically, finding developers in those two languages has been historically very difficult, and you'd have to pay people wild amounts of money to get them to work on your project. And I think right now that has changed because so many of these huge companies have either gone under or had cuts in pay. So now it's a really good time, to hire Solidity developers because they're more readily accessible. So I think we need to do a better job attracting that particular type of talent to the island.
Great. So, sorry, a follow-up question. So, do you have any targets? Like you say, if we had this many number of developers in Solidity and Rust, we would be able to do this many projects.
Yeah, I can't put a number on it specifically, but I mean, there's no reason that we can't be building billion-dollar companies here. Like, we have the capital to invest in them. I think, one of the great things about our industry is like, there's a project I really like called Frax Finance, and it's a team of 6 people. It's a multi-billion-dollar market cap project, and I think like one talented developer can do what generally like 5 or 6 regular ones can. So it's hard to put an actual number on it, but we need to attract like those superstar type developers to the island, and there are actually a couple of them here. To answer your question, I can't put an actual like target on it, but what I do know is that I would say probably out of the next cycle, I do think we're going to probably see at least 1 or 2 like unicorn companies come out of Puerto Rico related to blockchain.
Okay.
For sure. I believe in the island, and I think that's going to happen.
I agree.
With all the talent that's coming here from all over the place. I mean,
Yeah, you need talent, and you need talent and capital paired together at the right time in the right place.
right now is the right
Yeah,
time in the
yeah,
right place.
exactly.
San Juan, Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
We got
Absolutely.
you here, right?
Yeah, we got you. Yeah, I genuinely believe we have a top 5. If you take talent and expertise, I do genuinely believe this is like one of the up and coming hotspots in the world. And if you look at what's happening stateside tax wise, I think that will just continue to happen. So,
well, it's a great place to be, a great time in our time to be here present to witness it. And thanks for coming out tonight.
thank you for having me.